What's going on, baby? It's Elgin Woodside and my brother Christian Marshall with the Workman Network. And today we got a reaction to Ed Mylett talking about growth mindset, affirmations, and just overall thought process to attain success. Actually, Ed Mylett is one of my favorite guys. I got a book
Oh, you
by
got the
him.
power one more? Oh,
Yeah.
that's a bet. I
It's
still
a
gotta get that,
I
dog.
listen to I listen to Ed at least once a week. At
Right.
least once a week.
And I've
So yeah.
personally seen him speak a few
Yeah.
times.
I was about to
And
say, I think he came from your industry, like
yeah,
financial
he
services.
started out in our industry, and then he kind of expanded it and grew to one of the number one podcasts in the
Yeah,
whole world. So it's
Ed is
like if there's
fire.
somebody to kind of like model yourself in terms of business sense, in terms of personal development, all those different things, this is the dude right here. So I mean, I feel like that's why, when it came, we talked about what we were talking about before in terms of what we want to speak on. I know I want to speak on growth mindset because we talked a lot about economics the last time we did a little content, but we now it's like, okay, well, what's the starting point, for making sure we do stuff like close that gap, make sure we are putting ourselves in a position to be financially successful, and it all starts with a mindset, right? So I'm like, I thought MLA was the perfect example of that, and kind of giving us some tools to be able to do that. So I was like, yeah, let's watch this video and react to it. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Sound good. Let's get right into it then.
You don't see things in your life as they are. You see things in life as you are. And so the more you alter
Hold
you, the
on,
more you
I'm
begin to
sorry.
see things
Just
differently.
stop it right there. Pause it right there.
You
That was the
got something to say? Go
no.
ahead. Go
Hold
ahead.
up. Hold up. He said, you don't see things in life as they are. You see things in life as you are. That's powerful, bro. Like, think about that. Like, people think that we're all out here just looking at stuff day to day and that we're seeing things as they are, but we don't realize when we have already a preemptive perspective about something or a situation or someone, it's because of our own thoughts. You
Mm-hmm.
think about that? So, like, even if you have you ever noticed that even if you walk up to somebody or you're walking past somebody you don't even know, you're just looking them up and down, and you already having an assumption about who that type of person they might be, even though you haven't even talked to them. Maybe
Right.
based on how they dress, maybe based on how they walk, or then you might have heard they might have said a sentence or two, even in conversation. People who don't meet, just based on how they're speaking, you already kind of have a perspective of them, even though you don't really know them and know them like that. So you got to kind of think like when we having those thoughts, is it because of that's who they really are? Is it because of something that I'm thinking about in myself, whether I'm lacking it or whether it's something that I'm trying to, put or a position I'm trying to put myself in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you gotta think about it too, though. Like just to hit on what you're saying, a lot of times people that happens to them because they had past experiences with something similar, and it's basically their body and mind reminding them of the past experience and trying to help them avoid the same situation that they already got into. So
Right.
it's really like a protective mechanism that our
Right.
body and our mind does to keep us out of danger, which is natural for everybody, but it can like hinder you from reaching the opportunities that you have in your life because you're already going to things with a negative mindset, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just had to stop right there because I want people to like really like think about that for a second. That was the first thing you said, but
Yeah,
it was super powerful though. So yeah,
fact.
go ahead. You go ahead and play the
And
rest
so
of
the
it.
more you alter you, the more you begin to see things differently. Which is amazing about this is we control who we are by what we think about. When you're obsessed with what you want, you begin to hear those conversations. When you're not obsessed, you miss them. Or you'll see something that you wouldn't see. You'll see the prospect. You'll see the situation. You'll see the opportunity. It's literally reveals you. It's almost like the Matrix. It changes our world. This is the power of what we think about. It's the most misunderstood thing in the world. Do you ever think about what you think about? Because if you did, and if you took control of that, you could alter the direction of your entire life. Most people never take the time to take an inventory about their thoughts. Yet our thoughts control our world. Our thoughts are like magnets. They literally draw towards us that which we obsess about. And so most people never take the time to analyze what they think about. The most successful people I know are the most self-aware, meaning they're aware of what they do and they're also aware of what they think. They're aware of how they're perceived. So today's message is about thinking. Here's some stats you need to know. Number one is, average person, you and I have about 75,000 thoughts a day rattling around in this thing we call our brains and our minds, 75,000 of them. The crazy thing is 91% of those thoughts are identical to the previous day and are identical to the day before that and the day before that and the day before that. And then we
You can
wonder
pause
why
that
our
right
life
there,
seems to
bro.
repeat itself over and over again.
If you go back to that little slide, you can kind of put that up when he said the 91%. Like so, like first off, he said that there's 75,000 thoughts that we produce in our head every single day. Like that's number one. So when you think about it, you have that many thoughts, right? I'm pretty sure like that's what when we talk about mindset, right? We're trying to talk about having a growth mindset, right? So if you have 75,000 thoughts per day, and you want to have a mindset of one that's abundant, right? One that's open, one that attracts nothing but positive things, right? Um, then you have to make sure that those thoughts are constantly be that you're constantly having those thoughts day to day to day, right? And that means that as we go through our life, right, we have to be super super aware of it. So when he said that there's 91% of those thoughts that are like 91% of that 75,000 is identical to the day before, that means you already like your thoughts already from today are already identical to the one that you to the thoughts you had yesterday, and that's based on the experience that you had yesterday. So when we go to sleep at night, you got to think about it. We may be sitting here still thinking about the next day. Those thoughts are still sitting in our brain. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like to correlate this, what we want to talk about for real when it comes to having a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, right? A fixed mindset is basically what like you basically have you have that the mindset of someone that one isn't open, right? Thinks that, everything is pretty much predetermined, predestined, right? Everything is already fixed already. And you're not willing to move outside of that lane, right? When it comes to your thoughts. But then when we talk about a growth mindset, that's one of always, I like to call it adaptability, right? You're open, right? That means the more you're open you are, the more willing you are to receive certain things. So for those people, and I can say this for myself. At one point, I did have a fixed mindset, right? When I talk about identity and talk about myself, at one point, I thought that I was pretty much, nothing but a baseball player for real at one point, right? I thought that's all I was. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what my thoughts consistently were all the time, right? But then, when we got to college, you still have the identity of a baseball player. But then when, you start to see what all these other opportunities are out here and all the things that's going on out here, you kind of have to be more open in order for you to, be able to pivot into those different avenues.
But
Because
tell
if
me
you,
this. So like, yeah, I think you're hitting on everything, like as far as how to what it takes to have a growth mindset. But like tell me what you think, because people go through a lot of things in their life.
Mhm.
How do you go from having that fixed mindset to that growth mindset? Like what's the process? What that look like?
I think the first thing is one, you got to be aware. Like you said, you have to be aware of the thoughts that you have, and that's where you first got to start at.
Yeah.
Because we have that's a lot of thoughts, though, right? 75,000 is a lot of thoughts throughout the
Right.
day. So that's negative, that's positive, that's neutral thoughts, right? Good and bad, all those thoughts coming through your brain. So you have to literally be aware of what you're thinking in that moment. Just like, even and that's part of personal development. So like eat meat for myself. For example, let's use relationships. If you're in an argument or if you're in a debate with your significant other, right? And you say something that may rub them the wrong way and they react a certain way, you can't sit there and you can't sit there. And it's something that we all have to work on, right? I'm working on this myself, right? So it's real life. So you have to not only you can't just think about, okay, well, most of us are thinking that situation, okay, I know I didn't say anything or mean anything by the words that was said, right? But you have to sit there and be conscious of what it was that you said and how it was said, because you don't know how they're perceiving what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
And so that starts with being aware of your thoughts in your mind, because if you're aware of those things, then you'll be more aware of what's going to be said and how it's going to come out. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
To me, that sounds like a lot like emotional intelligence. Being able to understand what you're saying and really hearing it almost as like a third party.
Yeah.
and like interpreting it and seeing it in perspective of somebody else too, you know,
Right.
which I think can be developed. That's a skill that can be developed just through practice. You know, at
Hmm.
first, when you first start, it's just like building a muscle. It's going to be very weak, but as you build it and keep doing it, you get better and better at it. And then throughout the day, you can kind of do a self audit and check on your thoughts and say, "Dang, why am I thinking like
Right.
that?" So,
Right. Just being aware, bro. I think that's the real first step. And then once you're aware, then you're like, okay, now you can start to implement. Like, say if you're aware that you mainly have a lot of negative thoughts during the day, like, oh, why isn't this happening? Oh, I gotta get up to go to work today. Oh, it's taking too long for work to be over, or
yeah,
dang, that really pissed me. Or just have to have a
why
positive
you
mindset.
thinking like that? Yeah,
Yeah, so you have now once you're aware of it, when you're aware of the thoughts, then you know to not implement the things that's going to be needed to improve your mindset. So
yeah,
instead of thinking like something negative, like, okay, why do I have to get up to go to work today? Or, dang, I gotta get up to go to work today. You start thinking, oh, I'm blessed to have to be able to work today because somebody out here does not have a job. That's the type of kind of approach I started taking with myself, and that's still something that is not going it's not going to take any certain period of time, but it just has to be consistently worked on because as life changes, we're changing, and so our thoughts have to change with it, right? And we have to be consistent with that. So
yeah,
The previous day and are identical to the day before that and the day before that and the day before that. And then we wonder why our life seems to repeat itself over and over again. So really the difference in our life, if we have 75,000 thoughts a day, here's the crazy thing, 91% of them are exactly the same. The separation in our life is in those 9% of their thoughts, because remember this, these magnets are pretty powerful. That's why I'm always saying that your obsessions become your possessions, because they do. You draw into your life exactly what it is you think about. It's a physical reality that you attract to yourself what you think about. So the difference in our life is 9% of our thoughts. That's why people say all the time the difference between winning and losing is so small, it's almost too scary to talk about. And really, we've identified what it is. It's 9% of what we think about alters the direction of our life. So what I'm here to tell you today is you've got to hone in and get aware of what you think about and then alter those 9% of the thoughts that are variable on a daily basis to serve you. Because if you don't, these thoughts become like viruses. They're viruses in our minds. What happens in a computer when it gets a virus? It slows down. It becomes sluggish. It doesn't function at its optimal level. Same thing with our thinking. If we don't get those 9% of our thoughts to serve us, our lives go in a completely different direction. So remember this, you don't see things in your life as they are. You see things in life as you are. And so the more you alter you, the more you begin to see things differently. Which is amazing about this is we control who we are by what we think about. Think about this just for a second. Wherever you're sitting watching this, the chair that you're sitting in, if you're sitting in a chair, if you're driving in a car and you're listening to this, that seat you're in started in someone's mind as a thought, right? Every detail of it, the fabric, the cushions, the way it's structured, every single piece of that started in someone's mind as a thought and then became a reality by putting out the pieces together. See, everything in life is that way as well. It always begins with a thought. When we think a new thought, here's what literally happens. Thinking a new thought literally opens a space up in our minds, in our lives, that never existed before prior to having that thought. It's like a brand new space you've created just by thinking it. And what happens is your subconscious and subconscious mind goes to work on filling in that space with the people, places, resources, and things to fill it up like a room and an architect would, to fill up that space and fully furnish it. That's the power of how we think.
can you pause? Yeah, I'm about to say you want to pause that real quick. So I
yeah.
want to, yeah, because he said a lot in that for real, just to be
Right.
able to really dissect it. But kind of go back to where he said your obsessions become your possessions,
Yep.
right? So I kind of want to start there because that makes me think about people that have addictions, right? Anything can be an addiction, right? It doesn't have to be just drugs. It doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be just being addicted to. Some people are addicted to failure because that's all they think about, right? They are. There's a, and I just know it just pops into my brain, man. Like when you think about like how powerful our brains really are, it's really like a huge computer. So it
Bro,
really controls
let's
everything.
be let's be real for a second. Bro, do you have like people in your life that like no matter what time of year it is, what day it is, how long it's been, it just seems like they always got something going on that's negative in their life that's like catastrophic?
Every week. I got something talking about that every week, bro.
Honestly, like I don't understand how that's even possible unless you are addicted or obsessed to that state of living.
Hmm.
Because all of that is, to me, that's a choice. If you continue to live that way and continually mess up or do things to get you in that situation, you're making a life choice to live like that.
Exactly.
And who am I to interrupt you if that's what you're obsessed with and that's what you want to dedicate your life to being?
Yeah, because
So
there's been
until you
plenty.
change that 9% every single day, that 9% can compound and turn into a whole different mind if you use it right.
Yep.
If you continue to feed into that 91%, just add that 9% on top of that 91%, all your thoughts are just going to be negative and you're going to create the life that you're asking for with those thoughts.
Right.
So,
Right. And that's a small percentage too. So, like you said, that's the difference between winning and losing, right? That one play, right? That one thought that you had before the play even came because you didn't react quick enough. Like that's
exactly.
that small percentage of between winning and losing. That's the difference between winning and losing our life. So, just like you said, I can't really see how people, how some people are in that same loop in that situation because I feel like maybe that maybe that's something that I haven't really done because when I realize I'm in this loop, I try to figure out every single way to get up out of that
Get up out of
because
there.
I'm not about
As
to
soon as
stay
you
in
start
that loop.
feeling it, you just got to get up out of there.
You're right, but I think that's where the mental toughness has to come into play
Yeah.
right now, and I feel like those people are just not aware really about how much their thoughts really control their whole life situation because maybe
But
they
to me,
really don't know.
in order to get out of that, yeah, but because they really might not know, but in order to get out of that, you have to change something. You
Right.
cannot continue to do the same thing that you've been doing every day. Nothing changes unless something
Nothing
changes.
changes. That's what they said. That's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the
Right.
same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I just had
Exactly.
a conversation with somebody a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, look, because I was listening. I'm like, look, I had to cut it. I had to cut it. I'm like, look, bro, you call me every single week, month, whatever, about a similar situation. So until you change, I at least said I kept it a buck. I'm like, bro, until you change something, like you can sit here and tell me it's because of this, it's because of that, it's because of that, this going on, this going on. But it sounds like you just not making that choice to put yourself right in the forefront, and making those decisions to make sure that you are in the best place possible. Not saying that there aren't other outside circumstances affecting your situation, but there are things that you can control. You can have set those boundaries. If it's somebody else coming in intruding on your space, right? Because a lot of us don't have control of our calendars or our time because we're not intentional with our mind to say, okay, if it's not on my calendar, I'm not doing it. Right.
Exactly.
If isn't that's how you that's and people want to have freedom of time, but it starts with you just taking control of the time that you actually have right now. It's not gonna come just because you have some money. Right. You might, as a matter of fact, you won't even get to that money to have that time because you don't have the right mindset. You see what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
people want to put it on like all this other stuff and saying, "Oh, this is all the outside factors." When everything is introspective, you have to start inward before you can start seeing stuff outward. And that's basically all he's saying. Because, like he said, it says up here, every new thought that you have creates a new space. So whenever you think something, what do you fill in that space with? Is it something negative? Is it something positive? Right? Is it something with love or something with hate? Like you have to think those things, right? And you have to come and decide what you want to fill that new space with. So, and it's easy to think negatively about stuff. It really is. It really is. But it takes a lot to be able to consistently think positively or just be able to have the mental toughness and the thought process to overcome whatever the adversity is. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. And sometimes it may not be because they don't know. It may just because they just choose not to. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So,
And I kind of want to hit on this point real quick that he had. Thinking a
mhm.
new thought creates a new space, bruh. I can't tell you how many times in my life I've used this just to open up new opportunities for myself and create a life that I really wanted. Like whenever I finished playing baseball, whenever we graduated, bro, I went through a real dark time. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life.
Mhm.
I knew I had a job out of school, but it just didn't feel right because
You're
my whole
right.
life I
Yeah.
was an athlete.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking those thoughts, and I was like, I'm an athlete. I'm supposed to be playing. And then I was like, bruh, you're not. That's not you no
That's
more.
you no more. Right.
You got to create a new reality for yourself and start thinking new thoughts. So I had to really rewire my whole brain and create a whole new reality for myself. So I had to start thinking new things. I started thinking about my new future. As an engineer,
Hmm.
what avenues I want to get into, whether
Right.
that be going deeper into maintenance and reliability, which is what I do now, or start looking at real estate, you know, or start
Which is what you do now.
yeah,
Which is what you do now.
exactly. So
Like,
it's like I could have stayed in that dark place and been like, "This is who I am. This is who I've been my whole life," and kept repeating those thoughts and then staying in that same state. But instead, I was like, "Let me find something new to start attracting to my life." And then as I started thinking those new thoughts, more opportunities came. I got moved to supervisor at my job. I got I got several real estate properties. Me and my uncle have a car dealership together now. So it's like once you change those thoughts in your mind, the reality starts forming itself around you, you know.
and that's powerful, bro, because I had a similar experience. I mean, we were teammates, bro. So it was like, you know how hard we went in those 4 years we was there. We was literally giving all that we could, right, to there, and to the point where now I even have moments where I think back, like, could I did that have differently? Could I have led differently? Could I have done this differently? Well, it's not. You can't go back and change it, right? You can only take what you've learned in the past, right, or take what you went through in the past and adjust it. But like, just for example, like you said, like once baseball was done, like that whole, like that next, really like that next, those next few days, I was like, it took a while for it to process that it was over. Like it took a minute, like to the point where I was in like, and my girl could tell you, like I was in the bed and did not want to get out the bed for real, because I was like, what else am I supposed to be getting out the bed for? The only time reason I got up was to go put work in. I can't. I'm
Right.
not going to the cage. What am I going to the cage for? What am I going
Exactly.
to the field for? I'm not going to the field. What did you go to the field for? We done, right? So, like,
Yeah.
and a similar thing happened to me, and I honestly, truly, transparently, like luckily I had a job offer coming out of school. I'm glad that I put, me and you as well. Like but I know for me personally, I'm glad we put in that work to make sure we had something set up afterward. Because I always go back and think like, damn, what if I didn't have something set up?
Bro,
Where would I really be at? Like how would I
that's a
be
scary
moving?
thing to think about. Like, what if we really didn't have anything to fall back on? It ain't no telling what route we would have took.
Oh man, because at that point it's like, because think about it, like even in those years, those last two, like I remember our senior year, like I had 10 whole job interviews on campus, and I got one offer. I got one offer. That's how hard it is, right?
Man.
Just to let y'all know, we work in
And
the STEM field.
you had a high GPA too.
A high GPA with several internship
With
experiences,
internships.
right? So like you would think that that person wouldn't have a problem, but nobody may not even know that, because I'm not gonna sit here and just weep about it. But I'm just gonna sit here and put my foot down and try to make something happen, which I feel like God ordained this path, because it was only that one option, which I, in my mind, when that happened and I had it, I knew in my mind, like I was depressed. I was had this, I was in this slump, but in the back of my mind, there was like they said, that mustard seed of faith. Like it was something in the back of my mind was like, look, bro, you got a job. Like you can go make some money out of school. Like that's the reason you ain't got your degree. Like you still got like your mom and them. Like you want to be able to help them, and you got, in order for you to help them, you got to try to, you know, take advantage of every opportunity. Or else if you fall back, you're not gonna be helping anybody. You can't help nobody if you're not taking advantage of all these opportunities. So then my why came back to the back of my mind. My why started ringing in the back of my ear, which made me get up, right? And then go hustle, get my bread together, because because I still had to come up with the bread to get out to California.
Right.
I hustled it up, working day in and day out with whatever I could at my resource, ended up making it out here. And it ended up working out. And now I'm in a whole different position, right? And I'm in a whole different space. Now I'm working in the same, like I'm in the same industry as the person that video that we're watching right now, which is
It's
freaking crazy,
wild.
right? Which I think is not an instance that is not that is which is I think is not a coincidence that is, or that it was ordained like that, right? So yeah, bro, I had a similar experience, but I'm glad that we took those thoughts that we had, right, and whatever, and that new those new thoughts, of those instances of new thoughts, I'm glad we replaced it with something positive. I'm glad we replaced it with something else, because who knows where we would have ended up at, especially
Exactly.
coming from where we come from, because we can go do anything else in the world for real. Like if we could, that definitely wouldn't benefit us, but I'm glad we took those steps and did what we need to do.
Yep. Yes, sir. Let's keep this thing rolling.
To fill it up like a room in an architect would, to fill up that space and fully furnish it. That's the power of how we think. So literally everything that exists started as a thought in someone's mind and then became a material matter. And so you've got to begin to think about the things you want to materialize in your life on a regular basis and think about it repetitiously. Literally the things that we obsess about become the things that we possess in our lives. Most people, those variable 9% of their thoughts is the new thing they're worried about, the new fear they have, the new response to an email they have to make, and they never dictate the terms. Remember this, your mind is a weapon. And you got to begin to use it and pick that weapon up and control it. Most people are out of control with their mind. They don't point it at something. They let the world point it and they misfire all the time. So today, I want you to pick up that weapon that is your mind and begin to point it at the things you want, knowing that it's a magnet that draws to you the things in your life that you would most like to have or that you would most not like to have. And that's where most people make the mistakes in their life. So today I want you to begin with first taking an inventory of the thoughts you have that don't serve you. And I want you to write them down. And I want you to eliminate them. Step one, write down the thoughts that don't serve you and eliminate them. How do I eliminate them? By replacement. You eliminate them with replacement by thinking a new thought. It's as simple as saying, what thought would I need to have that would serve me to get this goal or dream or vision that I have? And get that thought, write it down, repeat it over and over and over and over again. Because there's a part of our brain called the reticular activating system. And it's the filter that we see the entire world through. I talk about it a great deal in my book, Max Out Your Life. You can click the link here. There's a little bit of the description in the bio as well, or go to maxoutbook.com. You can get the book or go to Amazon. But I talk about this in the book. The reticular activating system is the filter through which you see the entire world. It's powerful. And so that's why it filters out all the things in your life that aren't important to you so that you can be sane. You don't feel the blood rushing through your left ear. You're not conscious of your breathing. A million stimulus would hit you. If you couldn't filter things out, you'd go crazy. This allows you to only filter into your consciousness what is most important to you. And what's most important to you is what you think about all the time. And it creates a filter. For example, that's why if something's important to you, the reticular activator reveals it to you through vision, sound, touch, you name it. And so, for example, you ever buy a new car, you got a new, blue Honda car. All of a sudden, don't you see that car everywhere? It's on the third, it could be 3 lanes over, other side of the freeway. You see blue Hondas all of a sudden everywhere. They were already all over the road. Why do you see them all of a sudden? You ever notice that before? Because that's become important to you because it's part of your reticular activating system now. So what if you could program?
That's like on Grand Theft Auto. Once you steal a car, it should start popping up all over the place.
Oh yeah.
in your mind that the blue
I know,
Hondas
you
of your
keep it
life
paused for
are
a
your
second 'cause I
goals, your
wanted to kind
dreams,
of
and your
speak on that
visions.
a little bit. Like, I mean, it's a very simple concept, but that's what becoming aware of, your thoughts come into play because I think about this all the time. Like the mindset that I had when, we was about to sign to go to Tuskegee because I didn't get an offer to go to Tuskegee till my senior year, like in the 11th hour on some stuff. Right. But I realized that the reason it manifested, right, not only that, but then getting the engineering opportunity in the industry that I wanted, right? The internships that I wanted, all that came because that's what my mind was focused on. And eventually those opportunities came, right? And more of it came. Just like for instance, before I even got into into the finance industry, right? Into the financial services industry, right? A month before I got the opportunity, right? I remember me and you had a conversation and you asked me, okay, well, do you want to be just known as an engineer? Like, is that, what you think your purpose is here? And that's when I really started to think about it. And I really contemplated and I prayed on it and I thought about it. And that was my constant thoughts. What is my purpose? What do I want to do? What do I want to do? Right. And then eventually I said, okay, I always find myself talking to people about business, about finances, how to make more money, how to save more money. What are those options and how do we do that? Right. And then I always knew I love helping people. I love teaching people. I love educating people, whatever it is. We could be having a conversation. You give me some information that I didn't know about. I'm ecstatic. And if I give you some information that you didn't know about and we both learn something, that's a great interaction. So I love those interactions, especially with, that's why I love coaching so much. Because I love when kids, like you teaching the kids something, right? Or even in tutoring, right? You teaching the kids something on either a drill or, we talk about, skills, math skills or whatever. I love the fact that, I love that that look they have on their face when they actually get the concept and it makes sense. So that's what I wanted my purpose to be around, helping people and somehow still related to being finance. So not only way I can figure out a way to get beautifully compensated, but I can educate and show people how to do the same thing. And so literally a month later, by coincidence, wasn't planned because from there I had decided I wanted to have a financial coaching business. So I was gonna start that from the ground up, right? I was gonna try to figure it out, but then I got an opportunity where boom, like that type of opportunity come into the financial services industry fell in my lap because that's the thoughts that I was thinking, and now consistently thinking about my goals and things like that, being in this industry, doing what I'm doing right now, my dreams, right? Those goals that I have are starting to manifest because I'm constantly thinking about it. So it's the repetition. You have to now you can't think about it one time, right? Because that intrusive thought, that negative thought, it's not just gonna come in your brain one time. You have 75,000 thoughts a day. So it's gonna come in there more than one time. You have to consistently, repetitiously put those positive thoughts in your brain, and eventually those positive things are going to happen. And I feel like I've had those real life examples and instances when that's actually happened, which is why I know people can literally go out here and do what they need to do and do what they want to do and get those goals that they have. They just have to have the right mindset to go and actually do it. You feel me?
Exactly. Because the thoughts are basically what leads to the actions that you're going to take. And that's why the thoughts are so important because that's the root of whatever action you're going to take. The only reason why we go to work in the morning is because we think that they're going to pay us and we think we're going to be able to pay our bills. If we
Right.
didn't think that, we wouldn't go.
We'll go.
Right.
Hey, that's real, bro.
No,
That's
like
real.
for
That's
real.
real
Like
talk.
if you really break it down really simply, that's the reason why we wake up in the morning.
It's like,
And
yeah, I know. It's like I wake up and I think I'm gonna get paid if I go to work and do these
yeah,
8 hours, 9 hours, 12 hours, whatever.
yeah,
I know. I think I'm gonna get paid at some point. So that's the only reason
yeah.
I'm showing up.
Like if we being honest, like if we breaking it down to the simplest point, that's the truth. And that's why sometimes it's difficult for people to wake up in the morning whenever they don't have work or they don't have anything
Mhm.
to look forward to because they know that when they wake up, there's nothing that's driving them to actually do anything that's going to result to any fruit. That's why it's good to pack your schedule with things that are meaningful and align with your purpose. Because if you don't have anything that's meaningful and aligned to your purpose, you're not going to act.
And I want to ask you this question, bro. Like you just using a good example. I want to ask you this question. You said, we wake up every day because we think we're gonna get paid. We think we're gonna go to work. Obviously in reality, that next day you could wake up and your job be gone. So it's like
Exactly.
if people can wake up every day to go work for somebody else and do that repetitiously, why do you think that some people can't get up and do it for themselves when it comes to doing working part time on their fortune, right? Doing the things that they actually gonna do, to actually
That's a
better
great
themselves.
question. That's an amazing question. And the answer to that question is because they believe in other people more than they believe in themselves.
Ooh, hold up,
It's the very truth. That's
hold
just
up.
the truth. We believe and have more faith in corporations, our supervisors, and other people because we trust them more than we trust ourselves because we live with ourselves every day.
Mm.
So we
And you
know
know
who we
yourself
are.
ain't doing right. You know you
We
ain't
know
doing
who
right.
we are. Exactly. So that's it.
Yeah, that's really point blank. That was a good
Yeah.
answer, bro. Because I was just curious of what your thought process would be around that. Because I
Yeah.
see it, and it's happening every day. So it's like at this point, like why can we do that for other people? We depend on somebody else, but we can't depend on ourselves. But
And that's why I stress me personally for myself,
mm-hmm,
respecting myself and
mm-hmm,
being the person that I want to be in the future, already being that way I can have the respect for myself to do the things that I naturally wouldn't do.
right,
I treat myself as if I'm my own boss, I'm my own supervisor, I'm my own, person looking over saying, hey, this is who you need to be striving to be like. So that's why I wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning and go to the gym and go get in the sauna before work or before anything because I want to build that discipline and that respect for myself to say, dog, you're doing things that other people don't do and you going the extra mile and I can respect you for that.
exactly. Just like when we used to go be in the engineering building all day, every day, and people still remember that. Like people
Yes.
still remember that because other people wasn't doing it. They wasn't doing it. Some people
Right.
weren't doing it. but we was in that thing every single day. So it's like when you can go do that, like you said, for somebody else, and you can do it, you just have to learn how to transition that mindset to doing stuff for yourself. That's going to better serve, like you said, like he said, and you said, better serve you,
Yep.
right?
Even if you don't get results at first, because when you first start going to the gym early in the morning, you might not get the six pack right away. But the fact that you going is going, them days going to compound and add up and make you start believing more and more. You might study for that test one day, all nighter, and still might not get that A. You might get a C plus. Then the
Right.
next time you might get a B. Next time, then you get the A. But you kept compounding on those actions to build
Right.
that person that you want to be.
Exactly. Exactly, bro. Hey, the mind is powerful, bro.
It
It is
is.
a powerful thing. It is a whole machine, and we are not using it to its fullest capability, right? We're
Not
not. We're not. But if you continue to do that, and I know if we continue to do that, the sky is the limit for the opportunities and things that we want to be able to get accomplished. We just have to work on it every single day and make a choice to do that every single day, right? It's really a choice, right? It's really a choice to live the life that you live. And if you don't like your life, you don't like what's going on, you need to make some different choices. You need to change some stuff, right? That's all it really comes down to.
Yep. I think that's good. You still want to go through this video, or you? I mean, we've been going for like 36 minutes.
Yeah, I think we good. We got plenty of content, plenty of stuff, bro. Because I just that's but like I said, I knew we didn't have to go through the whole thing, but I knew there were gonna be a couple key points
Yep.
that was gonna be very like important that we would be able to relate to because a lot of stuff he talking about we've already kind of been through, and done. Even if we didn't know it at the time, there's some stuff that we were actually doing and we're still doing right now. You feel what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So I thought this was like the perfect thing to kind of bring up and talk about that growth mindset and talk about, you know, uh, just positive affirmation because this is all that in one for real, right? He's not directly saying it, which is what
Yep.
I appreciate about it because everybody gonna say, yeah, you need to do this, and that if you want to do this, but it's like, nah, he's
He
telling you
broke
some
it
stuff that's
down.
going. He broke it down and he did gave you some stuff to do that's applicable. So not
Yeah.
only you talk about it, but he said you need to go write those negative thoughts down and then replace them. Don't
Yeah.
even think about it.
Each time this come up, just
You
replace it
know what I'm
with something.
saying?
Yep.
So, but that's why I love hearing him and talking to hearing from him and listen talk to him because he's always hitting on something that you can apply
Yep.
right then and there. It's always gonna be something you can grab out of that. You feel, which is why he's so successful, right? And which is why he's doing what he's doing because I know people that have worked with them and years ago and still kind of work with them and stuff like that. And they say like even to this day, even though you see him doing these great things, he still self-critiques. He's still asking people, hey, how did I do? Could I have done better? Like the growth
Yeah.
mindset. Listen to John Maxwell. I saw John Maxwell and listen to him in person. He said the same thing. He talks about growth mindset, how you have to have a growth mindset to be a leader. Yeah, like
That's the greatest leadership coach ever, man.
exactly. And so John Maxwell coached him, right? Gave him some insight. So that's why he's as good as he is, right? And taking his experience, he's done that. So, those are things like the growth mindset is really where it's at. So if you really want to get up out your situation, if you really want to change some things in your life, you got to figure out, okay, how do I develop a growth mindset? Do I even have that? And if I don't, what do I need to do to put in? What do I need to do on a daily basis, right? On a regular basis to make sure I do that so I can change my life. That's really all it is.
Yep.
So
But yeah, thank y'all for listening. Make sure y'all like, share this with somebody, subscribe, and add in your comments the negative thoughts that you've been thinking and things that you're going to replace them with. And that's all we got for today. Thank you for tuning into the Workman Network.